Hi everyone, I'm Emma Anne and I'm an Erasmus student from Belgium. Today I will introduce you AnnaJuliaCooper. This is part of the project of the Women Founders of Sociology. This is financed by Fundación Pública Centro de Estudios Andaluces Centra, and the coordinator and lecturer is Dr. María José del Pino Espero from the University Pablo de Olavide in Spain. I will first tell you who is AnnaJuliaCooper, then I will talk about her biography, then I will talk about the relation between AnnaJuliaCooper and the economy, then I will talk about the foundation of Black feminist sociology and after about the Color Women's League, and to finish I will talk about her heritage. AnnaJuliaCooper was an African-American writer, author, teacher, and activist who fought for equality for African Americans and women. Cooper is a pioneer of American activism. She wanted to prove to America and to the world that colored people and women could achieve great things in society. She has published several books, but the one that has made the most important impact is A Voice from the South. Her contribution to America and the battle against racism and women's rights has been enormous and has made a difference. It is much more than just a bit of history. AnnaJuliaCooper was born on August 10, 1858, into slavery in Raleigh, in North Carolina. She was born 7 years before the abolition of enslavement. Her mother was a slave from the house of the owner George Washington Haywood. Cooper learned to read and write despite living during a civil war and in a society that prohibited teaching slaves to read. At 10 years old, she entered the St. Augustine Normal School in Raleigh. At this early age, she started her life of activism. Indeed, she protested in the school against boys being preferred as candidates for ministry over girls and against classes given only to boys. During her years at the St. Augustine School, she distinguished herself as a bright and ambitious student. At the age of 19, she met and married her husband, George H. Cooper. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 years later in 1879. Then she moved to Ohio to go to Oberlin College, and in 1884 she became the fourth female to graduate from an institution. After graduating, Cooper taught mathematics and modern language at Wilberforce University, a black school in Ohio. In 1885, she came back to St. Augustine School. Then, in 1887, she went back to school to Oberlin to get a master's degree in mathematics. In 1888, she traveled to Washington, D.C. to teach mathematics and science in the only black high school of the city, Washington Colored High School. She became principal of this school in 1902. During her years as a teacher in Washington, she completed her first book, Voice from the South, by a Woman from the South, published in 1892. In the same year, Cooper founded the Color Women's League with other African American women. The primary mission was the National Union of Colored Women. In 1914, she begins courses to obtain her doctorate at Columbia University, but had to interrupt her studies 1 year later. Several years later, she could transfer her knowledge to the Sorbonne, and at 66 years old, she earned her PhD, which is a doctoral degree, from the University of Paris and became the fourth African American woman to receive a doctoral degree in philosophy. In 1964, AnnaJuliaCooper died of a heart attack in Washington, D.C. at the age of 105. In her most famous book, Voice from the South by a Woman from the South, she expresses her views on many political and social debates of her time. Her book analyzes the specific situation of African American women who are victims of many kinds of oppressions. Voice from the South is about education and progress, racial and gender issues, and economics. Cooper had a very specific historical, geographical, political, economic, and social position. This woman supported and fought for education, teaching, and transmission. She supported, in summary, everything that allows women to emancipate themselves. Cooper led a battle to allow women of color to obtain more rights, whether they are political, for example, right to vote, economic, for example, to have a decent salary, or social, for example, to have the right to education. For her, the woman had the right to speak as any other man. Moreover, for AnnaJuliaCooper, it is the white people who possess the economic power in general. They have the power to buy, to monopolize, to negotiate, and to direct. To summarize, the objective of this woman was to improve the rights of black women and to allow them to get an education. As I said before, AnnaJuliaCooper was an African American woman activist as Ida Wells Barnett and many others. These women were against the black woman's victimization. But these didn't act alone. They were supported by countless African American women, and then they created a foundation to express their thoughts. The movement of the Black feminists was characterized by the desire to link together the issues of sexism, racism, and class oppression. These women have strongly influenced the shape and goals of Black feminist thought. Cooper and Barnett created a feminist sociological theory based on the interests of women in pain. Race is central to both women's social theories. Thus, according to them, women of color face two main problems: the woman issue and the race issue. The Colored Women's League of Washington, D.C. was a women's club organized by a group of African American women in June 1892. The primary mission of this organization was the National Union of Colored Women. In 1896, the Colored Women's League and the Federation of Afro-American Women merged to form the National Association of Colored Women. Indeed, several black women met together in 1896 to discuss creating a club devoted to improving the condition of black children, women, and the urban poor. The Colored Women's League was a coalition of 113 organizations, and the goal of national unity was at the forefront of the club's objectives. The objectives of the association are multiple. I will mention some of them according to the National Association of Colored Women website. First, to work for the economic, moral, religious, and social welfare of women and youth. Second, to protect the rights of women and youth. Then, to raise the standard and quality of life in home and family. After, to secure and use our influence for the enforcement of civil and political rights for African Americans and all citizens. And to finish, to promote the education of women and youth through the work of the departments. The League accomplished few missions as hosting a series of public lectures for girls at local high schools and Howard University, raising $1,935 towards a home for the League, creating classes for German, English literature, and hygiene, and establishing a sewing school and mending bureau with 88 students and 10 teachers. Anyone can become a member of the association. In addition, you can also create a club that has a specific mission. It must contribute to a social need that is related to the goals of the National Association of Colored Women. The members of the association also fight at a political level. Indeed, during the last elections in the United States, they encourage the population to go and vote. Indeed, each vote counts and can play a role in the results. Finally, you can donate to the association to contribute to its goals and mission. Here are a few examples to prove that this woman has had a real impact in the fight for the rights of women and people of color. Pages 26 and 27 of each new US passport contain the following quote: "The cause of freedom is not the cause of a race or a sect, a party or a class. It is the cause of humankind, the very birthright of humanity." In 2009, the United States Postal Service issued a commemorative stamp in Cooper's honor. Anna Cooper is celebrated on February 28 with another Black woman on the United States church calendar. An AnnaJuliaCooper project was founded in 2014 and led by Melissa Harris Perry. The project investigates how gender and race intersect to shape women's politics in the South. The creation of the project has allowed the opening of a teaching center. In this center, courses will be taught. These courses will focus on certain topics such as ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and so on. The project has several missions. I will tell you some of them according to the website AnnaJuliaCooper Project. First, to move beyond the black-white paradigm in the study of race while still paying attention to this historically important divide. Then, to focus specifically on the social and identity cleavages within racialized communities, specifically the intersections of gender, class, sexuality, and region. And finally, to investigate the linkages between race, gender, and expressive culture, and to understand the role of race, gender, and region in shaping cultural production. People can make donations to finance this project and thus to improve global inequalities. Thank you for your listening, and I hope you enjoy it.